On July 25, 2000, the legendary Concorde lifted off from Paris for what should have been a routine flight. Instead, it became one of aviation's most infamous disasters. Just minutes after takeoff, flames trailed from the supersonic jet as it struggled to climb, and within moments, the dream of supersonic passenger travel was gone forever. The Concorde wasn't just another plane, it was a symbol of an era, a masterpiece of Anglo-French engineering. Its slender delta-wing design and iconic droop nose were instantly recognizable. For nearly 3 decades, it represented the pinnacle of commercial aviation. Passengers paying a premium weren't just buying a ticket, they were buying an experience. From sipping champagne at 60,000 feet to witnessing the curvature of the Earth against a deep indigo sky, a flight on Concorde was pure theater. Cruising at over Mach 2, twice the speed of sound, it could outrun the sun, turning a 7-hour transatlantic journey into a mere 3.5. For years it boasted a flawless safety record, making it not just the fastest, but one of the most trusted airliners in the sky. But on July 25, 2000, that sterling reputation was about to be shattered. Air France Flight 4590 was poised to write the darkest and final chapter in the Concorde's legendary story. At Paris's Charles de Gaulle Airport, the mood was electric. 100 passengers, mostly German tourists, eagerly boarded the charter flight. For them, this was the start of a dream vacation. A supersonic trip to New York to join a luxury cruise. The crew was seasoned, the weather was clear. Every pre-flight check was completed. On the surface, it was a perfectly routine departure. But as the 4 powerful Olympus engines spooled up for takeoff, an unseen chain of events was already in motion, ticking down to disaster. On July 25, 2000, at Charles de Gaulle Airport, Air France Flight 4590 began its powerful takeoff roll. Unseen on the runway lay a small titanium wear strip, dropped from a Continental DC-10 that departed minutes earlier. As the Concorde accelerated, its left side tire struck this seemingly insignificant object. It was a moment of catastrophic misfortune, a 1-in-a-million chance event that initiated a fatal chain reaction as the aircraft gathered speed. The impact instantly shredded the tire. A large piece of rubber weighing over 4 kilograms was hurled against the underside of the left wing. The impact created a violent shockwave inside fuel tank number 5, which ruptured from the pressure. A torrent of kerosene, nearly 100 gallons per second, began gushing out, streaming back towards the engines. Simultaneously, other tire debris severed wiring in the landing gear well, creating the fatal spark that ignited the fuel. A massive fire erupted, engulfing the left wing. In the cockpit, fire alarms blared as the crew, led by Captain Christian Marty, suddenly faced a catastrophic failure. The intense heat caused engines 1 and 2 to surge and lose thrust, making the aircraft dangerously unstable. This all happened in seconds. By the time the fire was visible, the Concorde had passed V1, the point of no return. At nearly 200 miles per hour, there wasn't enough runway to stop. Aborting the takeoff was not an option. The only choice was to get airborne and attempt to manage the emergency in the sky, a decision made in a split second under immense pressure. On the ground, witnesses watched in horror. The iconic jet, a symbol of grace, lifted into the air trailing a terrifying plume of fire. The aircraft struggled to gain altitude, its landing gear stuck down, adding crippling drag. The crew fought valiantly to steer the plane toward the nearby Le Bourget airport, but with dwindling power and the fire consuming the wing, they were in a desperate race against time. Inside the cockpit, Captain Christian Marty and his crew were locked in a desperate battle. Alarms blared as they wrestled with the controls. The landing gear wouldn't retract, and with engines 1 and 2 failing, the situation was dire. The fire, fed by leaking fuel, consumed the left wing, destroying critical flight controls and robbing the aircraft of lift. The Concorde, a marvel of engineering, was becoming an uncontrollable projectile, unable to gain altitude. The crew desperately tried to divert for an emergency landing at the nearby Le Bourget airport, but it was futile. The plane banked sharply, its iconic delta wing now a harbinger of doom. Less than 2 minutes after departure, the Concorde, struggling at just 200 feet, plunged from the sky. It clipped a hotel in Gonesse before exploding into a massive fireball. The impact was catastrophic. All 109 people aboard, 100 passengers and 9 crew were killed, along with 4 people in the hotel. First responders were met with an inferno, a devastating scene of destruction. For an aircraft that had been a symbol of technological perfection and safety for over 25 years, the crash was unthinkable. The news sent shockwaves around the globe, shattering the myth of Concorde's invincibility and marking the beginning of the end for supersonic travel. Investigators discovered it wasn't the Concorde itself that failed. It was bad luck, poor runway debris inspection, and a design vulnerability. That fuel tank rupture, triggered by a tiny piece of metal, exposed Concorde's weakness. Modifications were made, Kevlar linings in tanks, stronger tires, but the damage to Concorde's reputation was irreversible. The crash was a turning point. Combined with rising costs and declining passengers, it marked the beginning of the end. In 2003, just 3 years later, the world's only supersonic passenger jet was retired forever. Air France Flight 4590 reminds us how even the smallest detail can bring down giants.